guys, welcome back. It's Hogg the Spike from the Trinisphere, where a Timmy, a Johnny, and yours truly battle over all things EDH. Now, it's been a hot minute since I've done a deck tech, so I apologize. But if you like our content, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you are already subscribed, make sure to hit that bell icon so you get notifications when we drop more content. I've been spending a lot of time with my kids and kind of mulling over the new Ikoria and Commander 2020 commanders. Looking through the list, Kinnan really jumped out at me, but building it seemed kind of boring. Looking at the commander we're going to be talking about today, Zirda the Dawnwaker, or as I like to call this deck, Fox Rocks, because I have an addiction to rocks. This card, fantastic, and obviously the internet's already broken it. It goes infinite with both Basalt Monolith and Grim Monolith, which big appeal to me. I have both, and I'm always ready to play Grim Monolith in any kind of deck, so jumped off the page, and honestly, we needed another awesome Boros commander. I mean, we got Feather last year, and she's great, but Boros is always combat-oriented, and this guy, he has this nice edge, this nice rocky, you got all these combos, and in the description on Tapped Out, it's kind of the love child of my Godo Helm deck that I play at CDH Night, and the Heliod deck that I did a deck tech on in January. So we're going to break this guy up into some categories, we're going to talk about some stuff. Obviously there is a main win con, but there's a bunch of backups. Like, if someone exiles your Monolith, don't worry, like, there are so many other ways to win in this deck. So getting started, we should talk about this Basalt Monolith and Grim Monolith thing that you guys would like to know. Now, Zirda is a companion, but we're not playing him as him or her, I don't know what gender Zirda is, but we're not playing them as our companion, we're playing it as the commander. But if you wanted to put it as the companion, each starting card in your deck needs to have an activated ability, which we're close, but we are playing a lot of spells that do not have activated abilities. Now, if they had cycling, you would be able to include spells. What we're playing this guy for is abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana cost in that cost to less than 1 mana. So let's look at our two main win cons. We've got Basalt Monolith and Grim Monolith. Basalt Monolith is a 3 mana artifact. It doesn't untap during your untap step, and it taps to add 3 colorless mana to your mana pool. And it has pay 3 to untap Basalt Monolith. So with this and Zirda in play, the untap ability only costs 1 mana. You can tap it for 3, untap it for 1. Boom, you've got infinite colorless. And Grim Monolith, very similar, is a 2 mana artifact. Doesn't untap. It taps for 3 colorless, and its untap is 4 mana to untap it. So with Zirda in play, it'll cost 2 to untap it, and it'll tap for 3, and it'll make infinite mana. So not only does Zirda have that awesome combo potential, but it's also a 3 mana 3/3. Very solid. Elemental Fox. The creature type's not as relevant, but it also has 1 and tap, target creature can't block. So I don't know what avenue you would go down to make that last ability work, but I'm sure someone could go there. So once we've got our Basalt Monolith or our Grim Monolith in play, we need outlets, right? We need to sink that infinite mana into something. The one we're going to go for most of the time, the easiest one to go for is Walking Ballista, but we also have Comet Storm, Banefire, and Aurelia's Fury. Now, all 3 of these are big X spells. Banefire is the only one that hits 1 player, but if X is 5 or more, the damage can't be prevented and the spell can't be countered. So it's good to take out your blue player or control player at the pod. That way, get rid of them early and then go find your other ones first. But both Aurelia's Fury and Comet Storm can kill the whole table with infinite mana. And our last outlet doesn't win us the game, but it finds us our other pieces. Staff of Domination is a 3 mana artifact, has a slew of abilities. The one we're going to focus on here is the last ability, pay 5 and tap, draw a card. If we have infinite mana, boom, tap it, draw a card, pay the 1, untap it, draw through our whole deck until we find one of those 4 other outlets, and use that in conjunction with our infinite mana to win the game. So that's our primary win con. That's what we're going. We need one of our monoliths, we need one of our 4 outlets, or our Staff of Domination. Now, we do have 3 backup plans. Backup plan A is going to be our Auriok Salvager's Bomberman combo from Legacy. Auriok Salvagers is 3 and a white for a 2/4 human soldier. It has 1 and a white. Return target artifact card with CMC 1 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Now, you pair this with Lion's Eye Diamond, which costs 0, and you can sacrifice it to add 3 mana of any color to your mana pool. And you have to discard your hand. but that's fine because Zirda's in the command zone. So one of our pieces is already there. And if we have our Auriok Salvagers already in play, we can just loop this, right? Make infinite mana. And then the outlet for this combo, assuming we don't have one of our outlets for our original, is going to be our Pyrite Spellbomb. Thank you, big thank you to Shannon, because I've never actually seen anyone play Pyrite Spellbomb in the Bomberman combo. But as he said, Pyrite Spellbomb is the bomb in the Bomberman part. It costs 1, so it can be brought back with Auriok Salvagers, and you just pay a red and sacrifice it to deal 2 damage to any target. You can kill creatures early if you don't have the combo set up, but it is the outlet to win the game later on. Also of note, you can pay 1 and sacrifice it to draw a card. If it doesn't seem like this is going to be the combo that's going to win you the game, you can just cycle it, which is great. So that's backup A. Backup B is Heliod Sun-Crowned, which in January we talked about this. He was the commander of the deck. He's awesome. He's a 3-mana 5/5 god. When you pair him up with Walking Ballista, you go ahead and give Walking Ballista lifelink. That's infinite damage right there. Heliod says whenever you gain life, you put a 1/1 counter on a creature, and Walking Ballista can remove counters to deal damage. So when that Walking Ballista removes that counter and deals that damage, it's going to gain a life and put the counter back on it, and pew 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 pew. You're going to mow down your opponents. Backup B, super straightforward. Backup C is kind of just the beatdown plan, honestly. Like, we have Serra Ascendant, which in Commander is always going to be a 6/6 for 1 mana. It's got flying and lifelink. If you play it on turn 1, you're going to go to town. And our second backup C is Luminarch Ascension. Now, again, if you get this down early, you're going to get those quest counters on it, and you're just going to be able to start cranking out 4/4 angels. And Zirda can make the ability only cost 1 white mana, which is insane. You can, 3 lands to make 12 powers of angels. It's so good. So those are our main go-tos, right? We've got our original Monolith combo. We've got our Heliod Sun-Crowned life gain Walking Ballista combo. We've got our Bomberman combo and our creature beatdown with these 2 flyers, Serra Ascendant and Luminarch Ascension. Well, we got to be able to set this up, right? So we need a lot of ramp, we need a lot of tutors. Okay, so for our tutor section, we have Enlightened Tutor, which grabs us any artifact or enchantment. We've got Gamble, gets us any card with the caveat that we have to discard a card at random. But there is a lot of recursion in this deck, so if you do happen to discard the card you tutored for, don't worry, there's plenty of ways to get the card back. We've got Goblin Engineer, which is one of those cards that gets the card back, but also tutors. You tutor your library for an artifact card and put it into your graveyard, and then you can sacrifice an artifact to return an artifact with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this gets us a lot of things. In specifically, it gets us our Monoliths back. Both of them cost 3 or less. We have Imperial Recruiter, which gets any creature with power 2 or less, and Recruiter of the Guard, which is any creature with toughness 2 or less. We have Inventor's Fair, a land that gets an artifact as long as we have Metalcraft, which this deck is called Fox Rocks. We're going to have plenty of artifacts. It's not going to be hard to get Metalcraft in this deck. And finally, we have Ranger Captain of Eos, which is another double duty card. It both tutors for a CMC 1 creature, which most of the time is going to be Walking Ballista, but we can grab our Serra Ascendant, we can grab our Goblin Engineer, we can grab any of our 1-drops. But the double duty part is that you can sacrifice Ranger Captain of Eos and your opponents can't cast non-creature spells this turn. So if you think you're going to go off, this is going to be your turn to go off, Ranger Captain of Eos is a good protection spell. You can sack him in your upkeep and your opponents can't cast any kind of interruption. Like they can't disrupt you and you can go for the win. So those are our tutors. We've got 7 of them and they're all very good. To ramp us out, we've got a big list. We've got 16 mana rocks. Not all of them are mana rocks, mind you. There are a couple of creatures in here, but we do like our rocks. We've got Arcane Signet, Boros Signet, Chrome Mox, Felwar Stone, Lotus Petal, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Mind Stone, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Soul Ring, Talisman of Conviction. Now, I like rocks, and a lot of these rocks are very expensive, so there are budget alternatives, but these are the ones I would run to make Zirda really pop, And some of these non-artifact ramp spells or creatures we've got Dockside Extortionist, which is great. Man, for 2 mana, this guy is so good. Easily the best card of last year's Commander set. We've got Land Tax, good early, just lets you thin the deck. I think thinning the deck is fine. Shannon and Juan always give me grief about it. They're like, thinning the deck's not a real thing, but it makes me feel good. I pull all my lands out of the deck, I feel like like I'm more alive to draw gas. We've got Verge Rangers, a new card from Commander 2020. Now this card's great, especially when we pair it up with Sensei's Divining Top. This card's 2 and a white for a 3/3 first strike, so great stats already. You can look at the top card of your library at any time, and as long as an opponent controls more lands than you, you can play lands from the top of your library. So it's a white card. I get it. It's not amazing, but in white, it's very good. And finally, we have Withered Wayfarer, which lets us get any land as long as an opponent controls more lands than us. So that can get any of our utility lands out of our deck. You know, our Buried Ruin if we need to get back one of our combo pieces, or a Cavern of Souls if we need to make sure that Zirda resolves. Very good card. We've got a couple of draw spells just to make sure that, you know, we don't get clunky hands that are, you know, littered with too many rocks. We're not really going anywhere. We've got Faithless Looting, Sensei's Divining Top we talked about before, Thrill of Possibility, and Wheel of Fortune. Now, there's not a ton of draw in Boros. A couple of our mana rocks can cycle, but we do want to make sure that we're playing just a little bit, just the best options. There are a set number of, I would say, best cards in Boros. Like, you're going to see these decks in every Boros deck because it is the best that Boros has to offer. We have some recursion spells in this deck, like Goblin Engineer. We've got Codex Shredder, Goblin Welder, who is the original engineer, if you would. Goblin Engineer from Modern Horizons was kind of like a reimagining of Goblin Welder. We've got Savine's Reclamation and Underworld Breach. Now, all 4 of these are great at getting back any of your combo pieces, and they're all pretty mana light. So, you know, you're not going to have to like spend a turn to get the card back and then wait till your next turn to try and go off again. You could play a card, get one of your cards back, and be good to go all on the same turn. And protection, like maybe you don't, you know, recursion's great, but if you can protect your combo and just go for it and not have to worry about your stuff dying, awesome. We've got 8 protection cards. Boros Charm gives our permanents indestructible, which is awesome. Cavern of Souls makes Zirda uncounterable. Deflecting Swat, another new Commander 2020 card. As long as we have Zirda in play, Deflecting Swat is free. If we don't have Zirda in play, it's 2 and a red. You may choose new targets for target spell or ability. So it's free sometimes, and that's really good. And you can, you know, if someone Swords to Plowshares on Zirda, you can Deflecting Swat and redirect that to their commander or something. This card's very good. We've got both Giver of Runes and Mother of Runes, both cheap 1-drops that protect our commander or our other utility creatures. Also of note, both can be tutored out with Ranger Captain of Eos. We have Mandate of Peace, which doesn't necessarily protect our combo, but can protect us. If I'm in a 3-man game with Shannon and Juan, I know Juan's gonna come trying to dumpster me. So Mandate of Peace is just a good way to protect myself. It's 1 in the white, cast the spell only during combat. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn, and you end the combat phase. So it can be a fog, or you can go to combat and cast it as a silence, if you will. We also have silence. Your opponents can't cast spells this turn, just as a way to ensure that you have, when you go off, it's free. Like, when you go off, you're good to go and you win the game. And finally, Welding Jar. 0-mana artifact, sack it to regenerate any other artifact. So that's good to protect either of our monoliths. We mentioned utility creatures there. Boros, it doesn't have, you know, the biggest, flashiest creatures, but the creatures that it does have, they're, you know, they're very, like, annoying, stacksy creatures that, or the ones that we want to play, all have abilities that are going to slow our opponents down or negatively affect our opponents so that we can get to where we're going faster, because we're not going to be as hurt as our opponents will most likely be. So we've got Alms Collector, Aven Mind Sensor, Dranith Magistrate, Aethersworn Canonist, Magus of the Moon, and Treasonous Ogre. Treasonous Ogre is great. Ported it over from Helm. It's awesome. You can just, like, if you get him down early, you can just pay enough life into it to make the mana to just win. Like, most of your pieces are colorless. Zirda is hybrid Boros, so you don't need white mana to play him. So if you have a Treasonous Ogre, you can get it down early. It will definitely help you win the game. And finally, let's talk about some removal. We don't have much, but, you know, we're really focused on comboing out here, but we do have some very efficient, good removal. We've got Grasp of Fate, Heliod's Intervention, Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, obviously. Path and Swords are iconic for white decks, and Wear and Tear. All of those are really good. They hit artifacts and enchantments. Grasp of Fate hits a permanent from each opponent. All of those cards are good. And, you know, any Boros deck, I would play almost all of these cards. Obviously, the Monolith combo and, you know, the backup A, the backup B, the backup C. All of those are very specific to Zirda. But a lot of the tutors and the draw cards and the utility creatures, I would put in most Boros decks. So I wouldn't worry about, you know, if you like this deck and you wanted to pick it up using our affiliate link on TCG Player, I wouldn't worry about picking up these cards and not having them have a home in other other decks because they are shoo-ins for other Boros decks. All right, guys, let me know what you think about this deck tech. I know it's a little expensive. That's how I roll. I do love my rocks. If you think it's viable, I'm going to put this deck together. I'm going to have Zirda Fox Rocks ready to go, and I'm going to see how many wins I can get. I'll keep a tally. Maybe put it in the deck description on Tapped Out. But let me know what you guys think. And remember, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next deck tech. And remember, if you're not first, you're last.